Imagine a small country whose only valuable resource is on the verge of depletion. What would happen then? Well, unfortunately, the consequences are dire. The country would be left with a desolate environment, bleak prospects, and perhaps some meager compensation. This is precisely what occurred to the picturesque Pacific island of Nauru. When Australia began extracting its lone natural resource, phosphate, the future of Nauru turned ominous. Your heart will ache at the sight of Nauru, a land filled with hopelessness and despair. The unemployment rate has skyrocketed to unprecedented levels, leaving many without a glimmer of hope for a brighter future. It's a place that's been forgotten, abandoned by tourism due to a lack of infrastructure, with only a handful of hotels and restaurants. At first glance, the island may seem enchanting, but as you draw nearer, the grim reality sets in. The air is heavy with the stench of decay, and the once vibrant community has been reduced to dilapidated homes and rusted cars. A haunting reminder of what once was. Why has the island's economic situation become so bad? We must start at the core if we want to find the answer. An island far away from Europe called Nauru. This small and beautiful paradise is situated halfway between Australia and Hawaii, and was so remote that no European had ever laid eyes on it. However, all that changed on a fateful day in November 1798. A British ship called the Snow Hunter was on its way to the China Seas when it unexpectedly stumbled upon the island of Nauru. As they sailed closer, they were greeted by a group of friendly Nauruans who had arrived in their canoes to welcome the sailors. The Nauruans were fascinated by the Snow Hunter and its crew, and they beckoned for the sailors to come ashore. However, Captain John Fearon, the captain of the Snow Hunter, was cautious and forbade his crew from getting off the ship. Neither did any Nauruans board the vessel. Nevertheless, the captain was completely taken by the beauty of the island. He was mesmerized by the stunning white sand beaches, the swaying palms, and the island's central plateau. He felt so enchanted that he even christened it Pleasant Island. As the Snow Hunter sailed away from Nauru, Captain Fearon could not stop thinking about the island's incredible beauty. His mind was filled with the images of the friendly Nauruans, the crystal clear waters, and the lush greenery. He longed to return to the island one day to explore it further. And so, the island of Nauru had been discovered, and its beauty had captivated the heart of a brave captain. It would not be long before others would also set their sights on this enchanting paradise, and the world would soon learn of the wonder and magic of Nauru. At that time, this small island sat peacefully in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Its inhabitants led a mostly tranquil life, adhering to a routine that was as old as time itself. But beneath the surface, there were profound divisions among Nauru's 12 clans, each fiercely protective of their own heritage and territory. Every now and then, these differences boiled over into heated disputes that could turn fatal. Despite this, the islanders tried their best to maintain harmony and respect for one another. Life on the island was not without its challenges. The only source of surface water was a brackish, shallow lagoon, which meant that any year with little rainfall would bring about severe misery. The islanders prayed for rain and did their best to conserve water, but it was a constant struggle. Now, moving a little forward in the year 1901, a man named Ellis embarked on a journey by ship to an island called Nauru. Upon his arrival, Ellis was immediately taken aback by the breathtaking view of the high central plateau that the Nauruans referred to as Topside. But it was what he discovered next that truly left him in awe. As Ellis began to explore the island, he stumbled upon a vast abundance of phosphate of lime that covered 80% of Nauru's land. The discovery was a game changer for the island and its people. The Pacific Islands Company, the company that owned the mining rights, was quick to recognize the potential and change its name to the Pacific Phosphate Company. In 1905, the company signed an agreement with Germany to begin mining Nauru's rich phosphate deposits. It was a momentous occasion for the island and the start of a new chapter in its history. However, the journey to success was not without its challenges. In 1906, just a year after the agreement was signed, a cyclone off the coast of Australia caused the first boatload of phosphate from Nauru to capsize. It was a setback that could have spelled disaster for the fledgling industry, but the miners persevered. Over the following years, Nauru exported hundreds of thousands of tons of phosphate, cementing its position as one of the world's largest producers of the mineral. The island and its people had come a long way since Ellis first set foot on its shores, and the future looked bright. The top side was a land of wild almond and pandanus trees, where birds of all kinds flew freely in the sky. The people of the island, known as the Nauruans, never built their homes in topside because they preferred the coolness of the shoreline. But there was something valuable hidden beneath the surface of topside that attracted outsiders. The ancient coral buried deep within the earth held a precious resource that many sought after: ore. And so, miners came to the island to set up their equipment, ready to extract the ore from the pits and cracks in the coral. To do this, they had to clear the land of all its natural beauty, cutting down trees, scraping away topsoil, and getting rid of brush and ferns. It was a difficult and arduous task, but the miners were determined to get their hands on the precious ore. As the days passed, the once beautiful topside became a barren wasteland, scarred by the mining activity. The Nauruans watched in dismay as their beloved land was destroyed, but there was nothing they could do to stop it. In the end, the miners got what they came for, but at a great cost to the island and its people. The once vibrant topside was now a shadow of its former self, a reminder of the destructive power of greed and the consequences of taking from the earth without thought for the future. And then Australia captured the tiny island of Nauru during World War I and transformed it into an offshore mining hotspot. They focused on building the necessary infrastructure, automating the mining process, and increasing exports. As time passed, Nauru's phosphate exports grew from a meager 200,000 metric tons in the early 1920s to more than 4 times that amount in the mid-1920s. However, the phosphate was sold at prices lower than the global average to support farmers in Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain, who together formed the British Phosphate Commissioners under the mandate of the League of Nations. In 1968, the Nauruans lived on a tiny island surrounded by sharp coral and limestone pillars, with 1/3 of their land already stripped of its phosphate. While the landowners received some compensation for the mining, it was not enough to justify the harm done to the environment. Nevertheless, the Republic of Nauru chose to sell off the remaining phosphate after gaining independence, despite knowing that it would run out in a generation or two. This decision was made to increase exports and earn more money, even though it meant sacrificing the future of the island's resources. But this small island, 1/3 the size of Manhattan, has lost 80% of its native vegetation since the early 1900s. Why? Well, they exported a whopping 80 million metric tons of phosphate. That's enough phosphate to fill up an endless line of dump trucks that could stretch from New York City to Tokyo and back. It's no wonder their precious land has suffered such a loss. This small island nation was once rich with mining royalties that gave its people an annual income of $20,000 per capita. However, most of the minerals have been mined and the island is now uninhabitable. Despite receiving compensation from Australia, Nauru's investment trust is now worth only $1 billion, which has not been managed well. Sadly, the islanders feel that their money has been wasted, with one example being a failed $2 million investment in a London musical. As of now, Nauru is struggling to find a place in the global economy. They've been trying to extract phosphate, an important mineral, by updating their mining technology and infrastructure. While they do have some secondary reserves, it's not enough to sustain them for the long term. It's clear that they need to find a more permanent solution to their financial troubles. What's your thoughts on this matter? Don't forget to share your thoughts with us below in the comments section. See you in the next video soon. Till then, stay tuned.